Okay, now we are live. Hello again to another Ask Your Mentor Anything live, the Fridays live that you have all told me that you really enjoy. So thank you all for being here. If you can hear us and see us well, please do let us know in the comments that everything works fine with the sound and the picture. Let's wait some people to join us. Today's topic is all about rates. So it's a hot topic. You've been asking me to have such a live about rates. And today we have again Ellen Singer. Hello, Ellen. Thank you for being
Hello.
here with us again.
It's nice being here. It's nice to talk to people and not be,
Yeah.
at home alone.
Yeah, people are joining and tuning in. So please let us know in the comments where are you watching us from and if the sound and the picture is okay. Grab your coffee or tea. I drink a Greek coffee. And let's talk about rates today. And thank you all of you. You were yesterday at my masterclass. I had like 311 people during the live. So thank you all of you for being there. If some of you are here as well, because I just advertised that we're going to talk about rates. So if you want to find out more about Ellen and the introductory part of our lives, so how did Ellen start out and her scale up moments and things like that, so you can go back and watch the previous live the last month with Ellen Singer, because we're going to skip that part right now. Hello, Claudia. Hello to Dublin. Thank you for being here. So Ellen, just don't try to comment through the app. So if you have any questions about today's topic, rates, everything that you might think about rates, that's your time. You can comment below and we are going to answer that with Ellen today. So take this opportunity to ask us anything about rates. Use the comments. And in order to see your name, use the description box where it says StreamYard. Click on the link so as to be able to see your names. So Ellen, I was thinking of asking you, why did you choose this title of our today's topic? And I know you explained to me, but I was curious if anyone else has really got why Ellen did choose this topic. And if anyone finds out, he wins one free session with Ellen. What do you think, Ellen?
That
Do you
sounds
want
good
to
to
make
me.
a quiz?
That's fine
Okay,
with
so
me.
we'll disclose at the end of this topic why we chose this title. A rate is a rate is a rate is hello, Christina. So if any one of you have really got it, what is behind that title and why Ellen chose this title of today's topic, you can comment below and we will disclose it at the end of this session, because Ellen is so resourceful when it comes to titles, very creative. Okay, so let's start with our today's topic, Ellen.
I was
Rates.
planning to start by telling people about why the title was what the title was, but now I'll
Yes.
shut up.
We will disclose at the end. If anyone's find out, I would really be interested to know if anyone can be in Ellen's mind right now.
I've
And
heard that even very good friends have trouble sometimes understanding what the hell I'm talking about, so it's
yeah,
fine.
I would be curious to know if anyone else, because I didn't know. I have to admit it.
You
But I
maybe have to be my age, but that's fine. I do know that some people will get the reference. That
okay.
is a clue, by the way. It is a reference.
Okay, it
Anyway,
is a reference. We gave you a clue, guys. Even if you're watching the recording, you can comment below the live later and let us know if you have really got it, even though we are going to disclose it at the end. So I'm going to ask you the first question we got. If you had, Ellen, any change in your rates, or if you had any problem during COVID by your clients accepting your rates, and if you see it as an excuse from agencies lowering their rates during COVID, and if that the whole crisis has affected your business and you as a freelance translator.
okay. Well, first of all, it all depends what kind of customers you have and what your agreements are. Some agencies will try to lower your rates, whatever you do. Whatever happens, everything's a good excuse to lower it.
Mm-hmm.
Others are not. I've even heard from some freelancers that they were actually suggested that, in view of the fact that they have less work, they should raise the rates for them for this specific customer. I've been hearing voices telling me that. We don't have that. We have a specific customer base, and they don't do that because we negotiated rates, some of them 20 years ago, so they're not the greatest anymore. But we know what we're doing, and sometimes it's really easy. So then it's, it doesn't matter as much, because that's one of the main things I'm talking about rates is it's not just the amounts per word. It's also what are they expecting and how are they expecting it? What are the expectations on the other side? So there's a lot of things that determine whether a rate is or is not viable. Sometimes a 6-cent rate per word is actually more viable than a 30-cent one. It just depends. So that's
I
what
think
I'm going to be telling you about. This was the short version. So if you're done now and you don't have time, just go away. This was it. But I will explain all this in more detail today, because
okay.
that is what I think is very important. But COVID has had no influence whatsoever. And the work we do is not really under pressure from COVID, because one of our major customers is a
Totally agree with
web
you. Yeah.
conferencing software. So they're off. I mean, they're producing 20 times as much volume instead of less.
They see a rise during this crisis. There are some fields. And how do you recommend translators should deal with clients that they're pushing their rates down because of COVID or such crisis? How
Well,
should they deal?
the problem really is that it depends on your situation. If you're twiddling your thumbs and your only customer that has sent you a job in the last 2 weeks wants to lower your rates, you really don't want to say, go away.
Mhm.
When you're in a position in which you have more than enough work, it's a different story, because then you can afford to lose that one customer that asks you to lower the rate. But in general, what I've done for 25 years is explain why I cannot do it. I don't say yes. I once did. I once said, okay, I'll just do translation for now and not the proofreading. And I learned my lesson, because I still did the proofreading. So it meant I'd actually gone down 20% of my rate without any difference in quality
Wow.
or effect or anything else, because they said, oh, we look at it anyway. Well, they never, ever, ever provided feedback, ever. So that for me was enough to know, no, they don't look at my work, or they don't change anything. And if they don't change anything, they're not really reviewing. So in my opinion, you have to sort of go into a discussion and explaining why you can't do it. That you are a professional, that other professionals, let's face it, other people with the degrees that most translators have, not all of us, but so, lots of people do have a degree, and some are even, very experienced, or whatever it is that they are. And people with as much experience or everything else in the normal way of life would be getting a raise every so often. And at one point, they would have gone up and up and up and up. And every single time we have a customer, they seem to think that we have to start at bottom again. And that doesn't work that way. We're entrepreneurs. We decide what we do and how we do it. And they should not be able to do that. And they should not be able to tell us how much it costs. Because if you provide, let's just look at a completely different product.
Okay.
If it's, for example, coffee. Coffee rebranded itself very recently. Coffee used to be a certain price, and then it was you had better coffee, so you could pay more for it, 2-3 times as much. But lately, everyone is using these machines that have coffee pads. It's the rage. Have you ever sat down and calculated how much you're paying for your coffee?
Yeah, definitely.
It's 7 times as much as a cheap coffee, 2 to 3 times as much as the very expensive coffee, but you're getting the cheap coffee. And everyone's happy. And you also have to have a new machine for it. So you're also paying for that on top of it. So basically, you're paying through your nose for it. I don't. I refuse, because I'm not going to do it. Same with, for example, flour. And when things had to be convenient, we had flour. They added the rising agent to it, and suddenly it was twice as expensive. Just because you get 2 products, put them in one bag. Oh, hey, we asked twice the amount for it. If you think about all those things and you put it into our world, we add the review. Well, Let's then add double the price. No, we don't do that. We pay about 20% on top for the review. Therefore, the price goes 20% up.
Yeah.
If a person selling us ready-made product for apple pie, you used to have to add the apples and stuff, uh, they ask us 5 times the amount for the flour.
Yeah, because the pie.
So, hmm?
It's a pie. It's baked. It also
Yes,
has
but you still
ingredients.
have to buy, if you're going to buy the flour, the rising agent, the sugar, and some butter on the side, 4 products, it's going to come out for a fifth of the price than if you buy the ready-made box telling you
That
only
happens.
have to add apples.
Yeah, that happens for everything that we don't
So
bake
if
on.
we were doing that, the translation is, let's say, 10 cents. Let's make it easy to calculate.
Yeah.
The review is 4 cents. Let's make it a reasonable amount, 14.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually deliver it ready-made because we clean it up and we look at it once again.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be price-wise about 16, according to us.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, if we were would be selling in the supermarkets and we were normal business, we would be saying 10. And because we're making it easy on you, you have to pay 5 times as much. It's 50 per word.
I
Of
know.
course,
I know
that would
agencies
be
that charge.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
No, this is per word.
there are agencies that they charge that amount of money to end clients. Yeah.
Not anymore. Really, not anymore. The problem started, in my view, we started saying, hey, we can do it ourselves and we don't need the go-between.
Mm-hmm.
So we put them under pressure because they were getting less work because some freelancers were doing the work themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step was they had to compete with us. So we went up a little bit in price because we got rid of the go-between, but they had to go down because they had steady people at PMs they had to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was that their prices had to go down, our prices went slightly up, and we're in direct competition now, which is
Okay.
fine because they don't provide what we provide, etc. I mean, one of the things most of our customers are really amazed at is that they call me and they ask me about a project out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, yes, but I would like to know is this and that and that. I'll say, oh, that and that. Oh, just like that? You don't have to look it up? No, it's in there somewhere. And
Yeah.
that's the difference between a freelancer and a PM. I've had PMs actually just throw something into it, and it was 3 languages inside and not one, but they haven't even seen it.
Yeah. That's the difference between working with a boutique agency, with the bigger agencies, the advantages, the disadvantages. Yeah, that's very clear to all of us. But I
So,
don't know if, you would like to mention something?
you can say something, ask.
Yeah, I have the questions of people like I've been
Mhm.
very basic questions like how to set up rates or how much higher should I charge direct clients in comparisons to the rates I have to that I charge my agents. Those are the questions I got from mentees.
It all depends. The problem with rates is that it all depends. I'm not going to recommend any rate whatsoever. I use 10 cents because it's a very nice and easy number to calculate. Could have been 100 cents for all I care. But 10 or 100 is easier to work with than if you have to go up so many percent on top of that much, etc. It becomes very complicated. So usually 10 is an easy number, but just imagine 10 being X. Only most people get really scared of maths and don't like you working with X's, so I try not to. I believe that the problem is that you need to think of all the pricing elements. What is a pricing element? In my opinion, I'm probably not comprehensive. I just made a little list myself just before we started. The perceived value, so not the actual value, the perceived value of your product. So if it's going to attract a lot of customers because it's going to be well written, etc., and it has a lot higher value than if it's going to be just a message for your employees to not put whatever into the toilet bowl. That's a completely different kind of work. So the perceived value will be much higher with something that has a higher visibility. Is it a service you're providing, and is it going to be something that's going to be used for marketing, for example? Will it get them customers? Because if your 2,000 euro job gets them 2 customers for 10,000, that's doubly worth it. But if your job doesn't get them anything because it's not that kind of job, the perceived value is going to be much lower.
And we talked a lot about perceived value, I think, in our previous live together. I think you've given an extended explanation and description in our last.
I forget lots of things, so I forget those things.
I think
So
the
you
previous
tell me.
live was dedicated on that, so it's really useful to go back and watch it because Ellen, she really explained that in detail. Also, Moira Monet from the Financial Success and also talks about perceived value. It's really important. So if you want to find out more about perceived value, go back and watch Ellen's previous live in the Ask Your Mentor Anything or Moira's Monet, because both the ladies, they talked about perceived value. It's really important.
Okay, and then also your process steps are part of your pricing strategy. If you're going to just deliver translation and someone else has to work on it after that, it's a different ball game than if you're doing translation, editing, proofreading, and with or without the QA, with or without a second pair of eyes, etc., etc. That makes a difference too. Your competition, that is your real competition, people who work and deliver similar products. So you do not compare yourself with someone who delivers a completely lower or higher quality. I sometimes have a feeling that people believe that they should be charging whatever the market gives them, but someone who's been working 20 years has to be a higher rate, if you've been doing a good job, of course, than someone who just starts, but not necessarily. Sometimes, some authors become very well known in no time because they're just good, and that's okay too. So it's very, very difficult to say in one way how to measure this. So your real competition, you have to see what they do. That's what normal companies do too. If I'm going to sell you a kitchen machine, I'm going to look at what the other kitchen machines are pricing themselves with. Buy. The cost of living where you are, that makes a hell of a difference too. Your workload. If you have enough work for 2 weeks to be done in every single week, you can raise your price. You will lose some customers. You'll work less, and you'll earn just as much, and that works too. So that is also part of your pricing element. If you have nothing to do, you don't have to lower your price, but you do have to look for people. So you'll be using time for that as well. And the expected life cycle of your text is also very, very important. Is it going to be printed? Is it going to be there in 10 years' time? Is it going to be highly visible because it's a white paper? Is it that makes a difference too, because if it's going to be like a newspaper, a newspaper is very valuable today, but tomorrow you use it to wrap your fish and chips in or to whatever, or it goes into the recycling or whatever. So if it's that kind of translation that within a very short period of time it disappears, it has less value. So
how do you show value in order to charge less or more to your end client? Like if it's something that's going to be published, then it will remain published, for example, not in a newspaper. How can you explain your clients like that kind of value in order to charge higher?
Well, I usually use examples like the coffee or the flower, or I use an example like, for example, your business card. Your business card with a spelling mistake, would you use it? No, you wouldn't. So why do you want texts that have mistakes? It can be just a typo, but it could also be, the style. Today, I fought with a customer. I had a little battle with them, and we ended up finding a compromise. But they wanted a certain word and a certain style of the wording as they do it in Dutch, in the English. But you can't. You just can't. In Dutch, you can say, just do it. Not like in the ad, but, contact us and use the imperative for everything. And they didn't get it why we weren't doing that. But we can't do that. Because if you do that in English, the answer on the other side with, I'm not your dog.
I would
you can't do that. So, and you know better.
Yeah, I would include the thing that you say about the life cycle of your text in the perceived value, because it's a part of the perceived value, isn't it, at the end?
I think there's a difference between the two. The
Yeah.
perceived value is very often connected to the life expectancy, but not necessarily the same, because sometimes something only has a 1 week life cycle, but it's so visible that you still have to take it extra into account.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But it could be included, like
Yeah,
the subject, like
there are
as an aspect.
lots of things that are a gray area. Is it a separate thing? Is it the same thing? It's difficult.
Okay.
Um, and your market value. I mean, if people want you to translate something, your value is higher. There are various authors who have liked a translation and the perceived value of that translation so much that they will not work with anyone else except that single person. They want that, or the author wants that. And sometimes, like Doris Lessing, her second or third Dutch book,
Yeah.
they actually launched it at the same time as the original version because that was part of the whole deal, because the author liked working with the translator so much.
Yeah, or in a simpler way, if you, for example, have signed an NDA that says that you are the only responsible, for example, for the confidentiality of those documents, and you are going to translate them, because I have encountered such situations. In that case, I am bound to only myself translate that. So that means that I lose other projects, that I won't be able to undertake or quote other projects, administration stuff, and things in
Yep,
order to.
it has to be higher too. Yep,
Yeah, so
all those
definitely,
things count. All
definitely,
those things count. So
yeah.
it's basically you have to think on how do you do it, and also think yourself in your own house, in your own things, about what you buy and what you don't buy, and why do you buy that?
Mhm.
Do you buy something because you think it's better? And if so, what are the reasons you think it's better? Is it their marketing and the sales department? Is it what they've told you about it? Or sometimes is it just that they're very clear about what they're saying? If that is what you really like, that is what you should be putting out there as well. And that makes a difference in who you're talking to as well. Because if you tell someone, come to me, I'll do anything, or you say to someone, do you happen to have a translation related to this and that type of whatever, blah, 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 da, 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 da. If so, I'm your man, your
Exactly.
woman, your whatever. It's a completely different way of talking to them. So do you want to use their jargon? Do you want to simplify it all? What do you want to do? And the way you talk about yourself also reflects in your value. Oh, I worked 60 hours a day for you. uh, okay, there aren't 16 hours a day. That person is not my cup of tea. Yeah? They tell you that they can do medical, legal, and automotive. Probably not. Unless someone is has a lot of time in the hands and does a lot of research, then they could. But, who do you want? Do you
I like
want
to,
the
yeah, I like to use the example of the doctor. So if you had a specific illness, for example, or issue with your health, would you search for a general, okay, practitioner, or you would go for a doctor that is specialized for that specific issue that you have health issue to go and check you? So I think Maria Seibengraf had mentioned that example. So definitely that is exactly what Ellen says now. So if you would like to go for an expert, like for a doctor, you wouldn't go to choose someone that can heal everything, for example, general doctor, but definitely you would go for the doctor that specialized, okay, and actually to the health issue that you have. Ellen, are you here with me? Because I see it's an issue with uh, the. Can you please let us know if you can hear us? Ellen, are you here with me? Hello, Ellen. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry I was
Okay.
gone. Something's
Yeah,
gone wrong with our internet. Sorry.
they say that they can hear us. Okay, so I can hear you clearly. So the sound is okay. No problem with the sound. So most probably there was a video issue. So
No,
thank you
it
all
was
for
my
being.
issue. It's my issue. We've had an issue for a week, and we're trying to solve it. It sometimes
Okay.
happens. It happens twice a day. It's just bad luck.
Okay,
Anyway,
if you have any questions for the topic, and Ellen, that's your time to comment below, but I have gathered great questions. To sum up, what already Ellen mentioned is, I think, 4 or 5 different strategies to actually price your services, pricing strategies. The first one was based on the perceived value, the second based on your service that you provide, the competition, the cost of living, the life cycle of your text, and the market value. Is that correct? Did I include everything?
sort of,
So
yeah.
if you missed the live, you can go back and watch all those different pricing strategies. What I usually suggest to my mentees, and let me know, Ellen, if you agree, I totally recommend them to combine those strategies so they can
Oh, yes.
they can, for example, they can estimate the cost of living. We have also in the Mentoring for Translators group a specific spreadsheet. They can download and estimate their cost of living and their rates per hour and per word based on their cost of living and their expenses. And also in combination maybe with the competition rates in order not to undervalue or to undercharge or overcharge and so on. So that's a great way, especially if you're starting out with direct clients and you do not know the market rates. I totally recommend you to make a competition market research instead of going and charging, because the most common mistake I see from starting out translators, they charge the same rate they charge agencies, both the direct clients, and I see it as a very huge issue here. And I've seen many translators doing that here in Greece. That's a pity.
That is a pity because it should be higher. You said just now that there's a form in the in the group, but I haven't looked at it. Does it take into account that you have to also add only the amount of hours you want to work a week times 45, for example, that sort of thing?
It's a huge spreadsheet. Download it later. It's in French, Spanish, and English. It's from the association, I think, from the Spanish Association, Brazilian, the American Association, the French Association. So it's very comprehensive. But definitely, you can take a look and let us know in the next live what you think about it. So, would you like me to continue with the next question, or is there something you would like to add? Okay, I know that this question would have come, like most of us nowadays, especially due to the competition, we've been receiving answers to our codes like, you're very expensive, we found cheaper translator, a less expensive translator, how we should deal with such situations. I would like to hear your opinion. I will after that.
I have no patience with nonsense. I mean, if you walk around, you go to a designer shop. I was in Florence. I was walking around 2 years ago when it was in Bologna as well for the conference. I went also to Florence and I saw a designer window. And a pair of jeans, all ripped and actually looking pretty ugly, was costing €1,000. Would I ever buy that? No way. But some people do. And people want to buy that because it also shows off that they have the money to do it. It's not just about the article, it's also what it says about you. It's like wearing a flag. I have money. Well, fine. Throw it around. I prefer to use it in a useful way. Fine with you. You do whatever you like. Same thing with our translations. Do you want to have your money turn into actual value, or do you want your money not to? So basically, for me, what I tell them is, listen, if I'm not working on your work, I'm doing one of two things. I am either working on someone else who is willing to pay, or I'm working on my perceived value, my marketing, my whatever, which will end up bringing money in. So working for that low rate is a waste of my time and energy. It doesn't give me the time and energy to work on something else. So I don't waste time with that. I very often nowadays, the last 5 years, I've never said, new customer, I say, okay, what is your budget? And whatever you say, it'll be yes or no. It'll be yes or no.
You start with the question. I think that's a great option to
I
have.
just say,
Yeah.
before we waste time is money. I literally say time is money. I don't want to waste your time or mine. Please provide what you think is the budget, and I will say yes or no.
And I have
I
two
tell them
questions.
in advance.
I have two questions. What is the most common answer of them? So do you think that you make a profit out of their budget available most of the time? So do you think their budget is lower of what you had in your mind initially, in general?
What would you do if I tell you it's yes or no, depending on what you do? What you tell me? Would you start low, or would you start at what you actually think?
No, but by what they suggest you most of the times, based on your experience, the
Yeah,
budget.
I know, but the point is, if someone gets told you can't bid low and me bid high, etc., and do the whole game, but we're going to just do it in one go, people don't go for the lowest bid. So, in general, at least I don't waste time. I've had people saying we want to pay you very little. So. I like
You make a new t-shirt.
Yes. I do not have patience with nonsense. I'm sorry, I don't. Life is too short. I find that most of them actually provide a reasonable rate. Most of them provide a reasonable rate. A few times they don't.
I'm expecting to hear from you, yeah.
Some don't, but it's also because of the relative market. The other day, someone came to me, didn't tell me they came recommended by a friend. They just said, "What is your price?" out of the blue. No, they told me, "I've got this job and this is the rate." To which I replied, "Sorry, you're way below my minimum rate. Not going there." To which they then replied, "You came very highly recommended by that person, and they told me to go to you." And of course, if it all depends who I'm working for. I've helped out translators. I've had a friend said, "I got really, really ill. I really can't handle this job anymore. I need someone to do it, and then I just have to read it." And I said, "Fine, I'll do it." And we don't discuss rate, we don't discuss anything. And at the end, I say, "Here is your delivery. Tell me what I'm supposed to invoice."
Yeah.
Or, "Don't worry about it all. We'll deal with it when you're better." Or whatever I want to say.
Okay, that was an emergency. That was an emergency.
Exactly. If it's an emergency, if it's a colleague, if it's a good friend,
yeah.
I will invest the time and effort to make them look right.
Yeah, I think most are about the end clients, their clients in our situation.
But end clients, you're supposed to charge a lot more because imagine, normally you would translate, then there's a reviewer, there's a DTP person, there's the PM to be paid, there is the offices to be paid on the other side, all those things.
Administration time, yeah,
all of it, invoicing time, all of it. So if you put all those things together, I mean, years ago I heard what the cost of a cork is in a wine bottle, and that was really interesting. It ends up being about €2 of your wine bottle in the supermarket, but it starts with 10 cents. That's because everyone gets the value and adds a bit on top. And it goes into 10 to 20 fold from what it started as.
Okay.
Because every person who markets it adds a percentage. Yeah? Okay. So basically, your translation of 10 cents becomes 30 cents on the other side. When I started the business, it was a third was for the translator, 2/3 was for the person doing the acquisition. That is also quite normal in the rest of the world. Even shoes are even worse. For example, clothes and shoes, the purchase price against the sales price is, I think, 1/10.
I think you answered the next one. What should I charge more over the translator rate to the clients? So the answer was twice.
I would say twice now. In the old days, 3 times. Okay. My rates are about between 50 and 100% more for direct customers. But direct customers also take a lot more effort because they don't understand what you're doing. So you have to explain what you're doing. You have to educate them. You have to put time and effort in it. And they'll
Yeah.
tell you, oh, I don't like this. Why didn't you stick to the source language? It doesn't work that way. I
Yeah.
don't translate word for word. I can't, because then it wouldn't be translation. So you have to explain all of this. So they are more work. As an example, 2 weeks ago, I took a job on and it was 20 cents. I think it's been the lowest rate ever for a job because it was extremely difficult.
Okay.
It took a lot of research. It took a lot of time. This last week, I also had a job, and it was all these horrible names, business names, and titles of the people within the business. So I had to check them all against their LinkedIn profiles. So every 5 words, I was spending 10 minutes looking at LinkedIn profiles.
Or the company's website. Yeah. There's some echo that's happening. Let me put my.
Okay, see if I can. So anyway, I try to. So you have to think about that. I mean, I've done translations that you can do in no time. I've done translations that you need a lot of time. I spent a whole day on 1,000 words, and in the evening I did 2,000 words in 2 hours for a different job. So
Yeah.
all these things are very difficult because when I started out, a difficult translation, you or ask for a higher rate. But nowadays, because all the stupid systems, all the translation management systems are based on one rate. Let's make it easy. Give an immediate thing. And that does mean that if it's a hard job or an easy job, you're supposed to be getting the same. And if the average rate would have been used, like in the beginning we had 10 cents for easy translation, and 20 cents it was hard, and 25 it was specialized or whatever. And if we had gone for the rate of 17 or something per word, that would have been fair. Because some jobs you would have gone through and skated through, other ones would have been hard and it would have been fine. Instead, everybody agreed on the general rate, which is now being applied for specialized stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the agencies can only handle one rate, which is why I don't use a TMS. TMSs are stupid. They're not meant for us. They really are not, because they don't allow you to have these differences. So for me, it's really important that you should be able to look at the file first. I mean, how many of us work for agencies that don't look at what they're sending out?
Yeah, many times. Yeah.
And sometimes you're lucky because, they send something out now and you're supposed to deliver 4 jobs. And the second, third, and fourth jobs have actually got a lot of repetitions with the first because they were analyzed at the time they were sent out. They didn't include that. So you have half of it to translate it by the end when you get to the fourth one. Hey, great.
And a very
But that
common
doesn't
issue.
happen often.
A very common issue is that they give you a project for translation and it's localization, for example. So if you have 2 different rates for localization translation, yeah. And that's very common with agencies. They do not tell you it's localization. They tell you, I have a short project for you. It's a translation short project, very simple. And then you open the file and it's an Excel and you see that it's a website. So through an Excel.
Yeah, and
Okay,
if it's a website, it's most of it is okay. But then you have 2 slogans. Those slogans are going to take you longer than the rest. And you have to make it that they like it, not just that you like it, but that they like it too.
Exactly.
Today we got the feedback from the customer, and they wanted it to be done again in the style of 20 years ago. So we sort of said, we can do that, and it means the same thing. But if you write it this way, you've lost your customers because it's supposed to be a marketing slogan, and your main point is completely at the end of it. No one's going to read that far because they'll get bored. We want everything now. No, actually, we want it yesterday.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So, but I find it's very difficult. And what we also always forget is we need to survive. So we need to have money to survive, right? Most translators are not saving for their old age. Most translators are not planning for the future. They're planning for now. I need money now. I need money next month. Yeah. I need to make the rent. And that makes a difference too, because if you do not include that, If your competitor is doing it just for today, and you're trying to do it for today and tomorrow, it's going to be a different rate.
Yeah, I was about to say that especially you need to have a minimum rate to survive as a business. Okay, so you have to know what is your minimum rate and never go below that. Ellen, what if someone doesn't give you their budget? So you told us, like, you ask them what is your budget.
That's what I do. I say bye bye, bye bye.
Bye bye. And what if you get asked what is your price, as you told us previously? You
I
told
give
us,
it,
like,
but then
okay.
it's also take it or leave it. And very often they say, "Oh, can we go down?" No, you ask me the
Okay.
price. This is the price.
Okay.
Do you go into shop
And you
and tell them?
negotiate for the trousers, for example, that you explained, or the jeans? You don't negotiate the price.
I don't. And they, no, will they? If I go in there, say it's ripped. Can you give me a 70% discount? They're going to say you're crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's logical.
Maybe here in Greece, you might go and say, "Can you make a better price for us?" Something like that. You might hear it here in Greece.
I know some people do it. I've seen a few people from my friends from different countries who do try that. Sometimes they do get a better price. But let's face it, they get a 5% discount or something.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a pair of, if it's some clothing,
Yeah.
it will still be a very good profit for the company.
In Greece, they do.
10% of it is the purchase price, 30% of it is the shop and the staff, and the rest is profit. So if they take 10% off, they're still laughing to the bank. So it's a question of what you want to do. But personally, I really don't have the time. I've had it before too. We had the discussion the other day in a Facebook group about people first letting you go through the whole hoop of the test translation, NDA reading, blah, 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 blah. You're doing all of that. And they initially agree to your rate. And at the end, they say, your rate is this. You say, no. Because they assume that if you have already invested 8 hours,
you will accept the rate,
You will accept it because you want to have something as your return on investment.
Yeah, very, very worst situation, they never get back to you. So you get all those onboarding process, the 8 hours you mentioned, they never get back to you. So I get those complaints from my mentees. Those are very common.
That happens a lot too, but why does that happen? Because they have 100 people. Are you not?
Exactly.
We're the most expensive of some of the translation agencies, the languages, or for the Dutch, or for the English, or for the whatever. We sometimes, they keep on telling us every time we want to raise the rates, you can't. You're the most expensive as it is. I said, yes, but we used to be twice as expensive. We're now only about 10% more expensive. It's time to move up. But why? Why are we allowed? Why can we do that without a problem? Well, one, when they do their assessment of quality and they have it externally reviewed, we have the highest rates, the highest scores. We don't cause any problems unless they make problems for us in some way. But normally, everything just happens. If I want to, they just send it. We just do it. Most cases, if I can't do it, of course I'll tell them.
Of course, yeah.
But I'll say I need more time or whatever. But I'm not going to be a pain in the you know what when they say, "Oh, Wednesday it's going to come, the job," and it doesn't arrive until Thursday, and they still want us to stick on the old deadline. I sometimes can or can't, and I will sometimes have to say, "Hey, sorry, can't do that." Especially if they deliver the translation 2 hours after the original deadline, then I can't do that. I still don't count time travel, but I would love to.
Yeah,
but when they do that, I have to tell them, sorry, that's not going to work. Or this week, I've been telling them, please, we're going to have a break. We're going to have a few days off. You can't send everything now before that date. Send me stuff for now and for January, and you decide whatever's important. Yes, but you have to ask for extensions. We'll put everything for now. I said, no. Then I asked extensions for all of them. Is that what you really want? You want to waste so much time? Forget it. Because let's face it, one of our customers has courses that give us 10 courses at the same time normally, advanced and basic level, blah, 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 blah. We are supposed to translate that. This time someone had a brainwave. They have to pay for repetitions, but not 400% matches. So let's just send little bits out every time so that we pay less. I've told them off because I said, we've done it this time, but we're not doing it again. Because what happened? They then suddenly realized when they put it all together that they'd forgotten little bits and pieces, 80 words here, 100 words there. And suddenly it was, can you do it within the hour? Well,
yesterday.
You made me do 6 times the overhead by picking up packages, working on them, processing them, putting them in my database, etc. And the invoicing becomes 8 lines instead of 2 lines or whatever per project. Why? Why do you want to make so much overhead? To save, I think that I calculated it would save them 50 euros, I think. That's just not worth it. It's penny wise and pound foolish. It just doesn't work. But I've worked for customers that have actually paid me €1 per word and earned less sometimes than I've worked for 10 cents. So my whole point here, my whole point today is to tell you, don't focus so much on your bloody rate. Your rate is not relevant. It's the end result that's relevant. Can you easily put some money away to do your new website, to make you write it, to market yourself, to go to trade fairs, to go to do some CPD? Can you do that? If not, raise your rate. And not necessarily the word rate, but find different customers that have easier work. I used to do a lot of construction. I've said that before. I used to do a lot of construction work. I loved it. Whole tunnel projects, whole building projects. I loved it. I don't do them anymore. I don't accept them.
Before the crisis here in Greece, we had a lot of such projects.
No, I just don't do them because they all put them through MT now, and you can do MTPE. I don't want to. Or they send it to you when the MT doesn't work. And when does it not work? When it's been so badly written, when they've taken bits and pieces from 20 projects and thrown them together without looking for consistency within. That's when they send it to a human translator. But you have to figure out with every single term, do they actually mean the same thing or not? Do they actually mean a different thing when they're saying a different thing? Or are they calling you, let's say if it were, you, are you Virginia? And when they say Miss Katsimpiri, do they mean you as well? If they mean the admin of the marketing, do they also mean Virginia? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, it's very important to actually realize that if they don't care about their text, why should I? Why should I?
For your reputation as a translator.
It's also my reputation. You cannot do that right. I mean, you will get that job done. You will deliver it. You will feel bad about the translation. They will not have value. And it will be a disaster from beginning to end. It's a train wreck just waiting to happen. Amazing. So I just don't do them anymore. Don't give me that rubbish. Okay, I want something that I can understand. If you make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes. But they have to be logical mistakes. And they have to be salvageable. They have to be written in a way that you can actually understand what they mean, even when they write it the wrong thing. If they write, make a spelling mistake, but you spot it and you know what they're talking about, it's not a problem.
Okay.
But if it's a spelling mistake every single other word, it becomes impossible to understand.
I think we can host a whole live about mistakes and how the importance between mistakes. I think you have given also a presentation at the conference, if I remember right. I think about the level of importance of a mistake.
Yeah,
like
could well be.
I remember that.
But what I'm trying to say is, today, what I'm mainly trying to say is everyone's always focused on what is your rate per word. What they should be focusing is how much does my rate per word make per hour. Exactly. I work 20 hours, I have that much money. On average, I have had projects that do not make a lot of money. I've had projects that do make a lot of money. As long as on average, I'm earning a certain amount per hour, it's fine.
Yeah.
And the more time wasting someone is, I have agencies that are always wasting my time. When they start the project, oh yes, I forgot to tell you. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you. You know what? Them, you have to have a high rate for, because you're going to be spending 2 hours on stupidity. Nonsense, as I call it. I
Okay,
don't have the
so
patience
yeah,
for it.
I see people joining us now. So if you missed the actual live, Ellen already has described several different pricing strategies that you can implement to set up your rates, how to charge your end clients, how to negotiate rates with your clients, how to respond to clients that they tell you that you are very expensive, and how you can deal with those situations. So I have one last question, because I've been asked how we can find clients that they can actually accept our rates. Okay, you more or less described that. And is that possible to raise rates without losing our clients? So those are the last questions, and then we wrap up.
Okay. I think I think you can raise your rates. I know quite a lot of people who do.
Mm-hmm.
And the other option, of course, is for every customer you get is raising it 1 cent.
Oh,
So
that's
every
great.
time you get a new
Right.
customer, just go up one. Of
Okay.
course, not necessarily. I mean, you're getting 3 new customers in 1 week. Don't raise it 3 times 1 cent, but that stands to reason. But
Mhm.
raise it. And if they accept it, that's fine. And then slowly but surely, you will get more and more work for the higher rate. And when you have too much work and you can't handle it, which one do you refuse? The
Great.
one that's the
That's
least.
great advice.
But don't focus on the rate per word. Really focus on the word work that you actually, the money you get at the end of the line. If you are working 3 hours to make to do 100 words only, and you got a great rate, it might actually not provide enough money because it has taken too much time. So you either have to raise your rate for that kind of work, or overall, whatever way you want to do it. But what you have to look at the end of the line is that on average, you get what you need, and you calculate first what you need, including holidays, including CPD, including all the rest,
Yeah,
and
that's a
living,
great, yeah, that's a great point
and
that you
everything
mentioned.
else.
You need to have a side budget to invest in your business, your CPG, conferences, and marketing. So definitely, that's a great point, Ellen. Thank you for mentioning that.
I can say that very loudly. I don't do it always myself. I always try to set half a day up for doing other things than
Yeah.
what needs to be done.
Mhm.
And somehow I never manage.
That's a
Well,
matter of
never.
productivity or prioritization, no?
It's for me. It's very difficult. When I'm here, which means that
Yeah.
if I'm working on this translation, whatever it takes is going to be done.
Hmm.
Whatever I'm doing,
I know.
presentation, I'm
Yeah.
there. I'm
Yeah.
100% there, or 200%, or whatever. But I'm not 10% there. That means that everything else has to wait. I have a friend, like just this morning, someone said, "Oh, can you help? Do you have time to help me this week?" Yes, I can. Of course, I don't. That's not relevant. A friend asks for help, you give them help. And if that
Exactly.
means you get in a little
That's
bit of trouble and have to work until midnight one day,
yeah.
so
That's
be it.
different. Yeah. That's different. Yeah. When we
And
do
I
it.
find working for friends is different too. So it all depends. And I think your best marketing is people you know. I've been to a lot of Zoom things lately, and half the people don't have the
Mhm.
camera on. That means you won't be recognized next time. No one will know you from Adam.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
why.
not
Yeah.
a smart thing. Because if you normally everyone tells you, oh yeah, stand up at a conference and ask a smart question. Well, actually, and introduce yourself. Don't forget to do that. Well, basically, that's what Zoom is for. You say, hey, I'm me. And if I'm there, and while someone is talking to me, I am doing this, I'm not going to give a good impression,
Yeah.
am I? If, on the other hand, I'm relaxed and listening, and then I ask a question that is relevant,
Different.
that puts me on the radar. That makes sense.
That's engagement.
Yes, and that's what you
Ellen,
have to do.
your answer to how to, yeah, how to get clients that they are able and they are willing to pay your rates. Do you have any last
Number
advice on that
one,
before we close live? Sorry?
solve people's problems. That's what I usually try to do. I
Mm.
hear so often someone saying, but translators don't understand what we need. And then I
Really?
say, well, tell me what you need. Well, we need a good translation. I said, but what does that mean for you? How often do we get a job and we do it and we send it back? And then they said, but why didn't you use our term list? Because you didn't include it. So at the beginning of a job and a new customer, I said, do you have a term list? Just asking for that makes a hell of a difference because you don't get it at
Yes.
behind after the fact.
Mm.
So showing that you actually care showing that you're not there. If you're the black box they throw it at, catch it, and then throw it back to them, they're not going to appreciate you.
I was really surprised. Yeah.
If instead you're there and you say, oh, listen, I'm not sure you actually know what you're saying here. I think you don't mean A, but you mean B, because A is nothing. So no one's going to be doing that. And if it's a website text, you don't want that word there because no one's going to be looking for that word. So you're not going to catch people, are you? So maybe you should think about using this other word. And telling them off is actually a service. Telling them they're wrong is a service.
I'm surprised sometimes.
Just like, for example, someone's walking around and they have an unzipped fly. Not a good thing to be walking around with. So a nice friend, a nice person will say, hey, not shout, hey, you idiot, your fly's open. No, you go and you very discreetly say, hey, have you realized your fly is open? Yeah. Well, it's the same thing when they're using the wrong terms, when they have spelling mistakes, when they have one word spelled in 4 ways on the website. You just tell them.
You know what I'm trying?
Say, hey, look at me, I know better than you do. Ho-ho! No, you go and you tell them, hey, listen, have you realized? This might not be what you want.
But you know what is the main issue? And I was surprised. Yeah, it's a great issue that I deal with my mentees. Some translators, they find it very hard work, that it needs a lot of work to find out what are the problems of your clients and how you solve them. So this is a part of my training. Also yesterday at the masterclass, I explained that because they're asking me how to get their clients. And as you mentioned already, you mentioned the problems. You need to solve problems. So I take them step by step how to solve the problems. You need to know their problems first. You need to know your clients. And I took them step by step to the process that is needed to be done before you actually go and market yourself as an expert to get clients. You need to know your clients, to solve their problems, to know the value that you provide to them. And many translators, they commented underneath my live that that's a lot of work. Oh, I don't want it. I prefer to work 9 to 5 as an in-house translator to an agency. Yes, that is what it takes to get good clients. That is what it takes to have a successful freelance business. That is what it takes to be a freelance translator. Especially if you want to find clients that they will be able to pay your rates. It's a lot of work behind of that to reach that point. So thank you so much, Ellen. Yeah.
I just want to say, you can't tell them off, you can tell them they're doing something wrong. But if they don't think they're doing it wrong and they tell you, no, we want it this way, fine. But then you've showed them, you've covered your ass. That's what you've done. You've covered your ass, and that's what you have to do. Because if in a few weeks,
in written, preferably.
Yeah. Yes, definitely in written, not in phone call. No, but in a few weeks, when a colleague, someone else tells them, hey, have you realized that this does not mean what you think it means? And then they say, oh, why did you get that? Well, then you just forward the message. You said, I did, and you weren't listening. And of course, you don't say that either. You say, oh, I thought I had. Maybe you didn't understand it because I didn't write it clearly enough. Take the blame. It's fine. As long as they end up realizing that you did that, it's fine. You're covering your ass. They cover their ass. Everyone needs to cover their ass. That's why we walk around in trousers and shirts and stuff.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you for this advice. I hope that many people, they are commenting that they find it really helpful. So you can definitely watch the recording in the Mentoring for Translators group on my YouTube channel at Virginia Katsimpiri, my name, and my Facebook public page. And so let us know in the comments if you still have any questions. Ellen is also a member in the Mentoring for Translators group, so you can catch up with her later in the group. We have some issues with the internet, so I would like to wrap up now, and we can continue in the group with the rest of the discussion. Thank you all of you for being here. Thank you, Ellen, for that great advice. I think that's they say here, thank you, Ellen, the best live. Alfred, thank you, great job, says Virginia, nice meeting, the one and only Ellen Singer. Thank you, all of you, for your comments, for your participation. Thank you, Ellen, once again for your time. Just are you going to speak anywhere else, Ellen? Is there something that you would like to
no, I spoke 2 days ago. I spoke at Uptrad again, and I have no other plans for now. But maybe I don't know, something. Oh yes, I will. I will be. I haven't. It's not announced yet, but I will be speaking in the Spanish language BP conference.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
And I'm hoping there will be other conferences soon, which I can go for, because I need my fix of other translators, because
Yeah, me
we're all
too. I need that.
multicultural, we're all
Mhm.
smart and can read between the lines because we have to, and we have to. There's no other way to it. There's no one that reads it more in depth than we do. So it's so nice to talk to other people who actually can think in more than one linear way. And don't underestimate the value of that. We can think of 10 different ways of looking at something, while most people can only manage one. And I think that is what actually sets us apart as a group. For me, that is definitely what sets us apart. We're monolingual, we're not monolinguals, multilingual, multicultural, smart people.
Thank you,
That's what
Ellen.
we
Thank you,
are.
Claudia. Thank you, Cristina. Thank you, Dorota. Thank you, Rania Maria. They keep commenting. Thank you all of you for being live. Just a reminder that my masterclass, because of the high demand, like we had more than 500 people recommend, we're going to do an encore of the masterclass next Wednesday. So for those that they couldn't attend yesterday, the masterclass is the New Year, new goals. Let's expand our client list. So I'm taking you through all the client acquisition strategies and how to create your strategy for the upcoming year. So if you want to join us, it's a totally free event next Wednesday, 23rd at 5 p.m. Central European Time, an encore because of the high demand. And that the fully booked translator formula has opened the doors. We start in January. We have already sold half of the seats. And if you would like to take advantage of the early bird, contact me directly. So thank you all of you. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, Ellen. So glad to see you. We will see you, hope, again. Stay with me here. I'm closing the live. See you guys in the Mentoring for Translators group. Bye-bye for now.